Why is it that we don't read labels? Welcome again to the Food Pod with Dr. Okunola, where the only thing that we don't have to do is to discuss on issues on food, food safety, nutrition, standards, health, anything that has to do from farm to fork. What are we here to talk about today has to do with a particular condiment, product that we always make use of as mothers. We like eating it with a rice. We can use it to make a lot, make our jollof rice, make a stew, a lot of things. And that product is tomato products, which are tomato paste and tomato mix. The question is, do you know there are differences between tomato paste and tomato mix? Differences between tomato mix and tomato paste are: one, both of them are made from tomato concentrates. And from that, both of them could contain spices, salt, lemon, and water. The world body, the Codex CXS Commission, in their standard CX57, listed this. It is also expected that for tomato paste, the total natural soluble solid, in other words, the tomato itself, which will now be reconstituted to make the tomato paste, must contain nothing less than 24%. For the tomato mix, presently, the world body do not really have any standard for tomato mix. However, within that particular standard, you have what we call tomato puree. But tomato mix cannot really be classified as puree. We will see why it cannot be. However, there are countries in the world, especially in Africa, where they develop standards for tomato mix. The tomato mix, it is expected that the total soluble solids in tomato mix should be minimum of 20%. Don't forget, I've said for the tomato paste, minimum of 24%. Let's now look at it. Similarities, both of them, they contain salt, they could contain herbs, they could contain vinegar and water. If you pick your tomato paste, when you look at, read your label, most tomato paste that you find in the market, what you have in them is 28% total soluble solid, that is the tomato itself. For the tomato mix, what we call the total soluble solids, what they have there is minimum of 20%. However, the tomato itself, that is the tomato concentration out of which they'll be able to make the tomato mix, it is expected that that tomato itself must be minimum of 7. You may now wonder, we are saying 7 of the tomato, but you're now saying the total soluble solid should be minimum of 20. The reason being that your tomato mix contains other things. They contain stabilizers, they contain emulsifiers, they contain ginger, they contain any other ingredients that they may need, based on the company's formulation, they may decide, like cornstarch, they are added to it. They contain food colors. Food additive that is allowed in tomato paste is acidity regulator. Emulsifier is not allowed. Stabilizer is not allowed. Any other food additive is not allowed. However, it is expected that the tomato mix and the tomato paste, the pH should be acidic. You may wonder also, why is it that you have tomato displayed on the packaging as part of the labeling requirements? The law allows that so far the minimum content of the tomato itself is met. Mix contains minimum of 7, and by the time you're talking about paste, paste is above that. So the law allows the display of the tomatoes, but the consumer needs to be educated to know that yes, you may have the display of the tomato itself on the packaging material. They are two different products and they contain different levels, concentration of the natural tomato in the products. From what we have said, which of the products contains more of the natural lycopene? Lycopene is the natural color that is in tomato. I would like to receive your answer in the comment section. Thank you. Hope to see you in the next edition where we continue to educate ourselves in this area of food, nutrition, standards, and health. Thank you and bye.